I think, you mentioned we don't know how to achieve all those targets, and neither does anybody else, which is kind of reassuring as well. But I think the partnerships part of our strategy is going to be so important in delivering that as well. So who do you see as our key partners, particularly when it comes to the carbon net zero target, for example?
Well, we've touched on clients. Our clients obviously are going to be a major, partner in that. We talk about our client base already setting us challenging targets, and we will continue to work with them to improve. But actually, the area that we've got to improve the most on is our supplier base. We have a pretty complex and pretty sizable supply chain in itself. Hundreds of suppliers moving raw materials or providing us with services. At the moment, we measure their carbon through a price-based industry average, which is a good start for us. It gives us some visibility, but actually it doesn't incentivize us to help or to incentivize the suppliers that are doing the best for sustainability. So, for example, when we buy our energy for our factories, part of the condition that we look at, or one of the conditions we look at when we make that purchasing decision is the sustainability element of it. And we are just about to close on the next tranche of energy suppliers on our hedging agreement, our purchasing internally. And we're able to move parts of our business that traditionally hadn't bought sustainable energy into that now. And that's great. Big step forward, and it's very visible. But when we look at other elements of our supply chain, we, at the moment, based on the index we have, we'd be buying services based on an industry average rather than the actual carbon footprint of that supplier base. So what that could mean is that there is a supplier out there that's worked really hard. It's invested in new technology, invested in sustainable solutions, but aren't getting any commercial reward for it.
Because we don't have visibility of it.
Because we don't have visibility. And then therefore we make a decision back on price. And they could lose out. Right. And so that would be a great example of where the 4 Ps and measuring your business in a balanced scorecard way
and
helps us.
decision making based on the 4 Ps as well.
So being able to, if we can get to a place where we will do, and it's stretching and it'll be hard for us, but when we've got our supplier management processes right, that supplier that's invested in its technology and might actually be equal on price or fractionally more on price for the services it provides us or the products it provides us than an alternative supplier, actually would have that incentivization would be there because we would be measuring them across the 4 Ps and therefore selecting them because they'd be providing us with a better service, more sustainable service overall. And that in turn helps us to improve our supply chain.
Definitely.
But that's quite a piece of work for us to do, Lucy, and we've got the team now working on that whole supplier portfolio and rationalisation and understanding them, but we've got a big journey to go with that.
Definitely. And I think one of the biggest challenges is actually getting to accurate data as well. I think that's one area the government have been quite proactive with the amount of legislation that's driving the transparency and accountability of reporting as well. But yet getting to accurate data for the supply chain is challenging. And what that spend-based analysis on carbon does give us is kind of who our heavy-hitting carbon suppliers are, both individually in terms of category, so that we can start to gather more accurate emissions data, so that we can start to make those choices based on people and planets and partners as part of that purchasing decision as well. And of course, 95% of our carbon footprint lies in our scope 3 emissions, the majority of that of which is the supply chain. So it's going to be absolutely crucial that they support us with that journey and in the same way that we support our clients with their carbon net zero journey as well. Yeah, I think that partners piece is going to be absolutely crucial for us, particularly with the supply chain. 95% of our carbon emissions there as a business sit in our scope 3s, the majority of which is in our supply chain. We've got thousands of suppliers, and what that spend-based analysis on carbon emissions does is allow us to focus on the most heavy-hitting carbon suppliers in terms of individual suppliers and categories as well. And it's really important we get to better data on the carbon emissions for those suppliers so we can start to drive that procurement decision making based on people, planet, and partners, but also bring those suppliers on that carbon reduction, that carbon net zero journey with us, exactly as we do with our clients as well. So I think, the whole supplier relationship management piece, that collaboration is where the innovation is going to come from, so that we can start to tackle carbon net zero and those other areas, such as diversity, equity and inclusion across our entire value chain, sort of right from our clients down to our supply partners.